Hey everyone, so last time we took a look at the 5 characters we would want to see show up in Injustice 3 that have not been in any Injustice game yet. So today we're going to do the same thing, but we are looking at guest characters. These are characters not owned by DC Comics. They are not owned by that company, so they would actually have to work out some kind of deal or talk to another company to include these. And before you say, well, that's unrealistic, we've already gotten several guest characters already, like Hellboy, and obviously, Mortal Kombat characters working their way in, and even the TMNT from Nickelodeon has worked its way into the Injustice universe. So there's definitely hope for these guys. Let's jump right into it and take a look at the list for today. So I'm going to be doing my best to also break down who owns what and sort of give you a little bit of a summary of this character and their powers. The first one is going to be Invincible. This is a character that a lot of people might not know about. It's a lesser known Image Comics character, but actually for Image Comics characters, probably one of their more mainstream characters. This character is a half Viltrumite, half human. I have to say the word Viltrumite correctly. And essentially, this has often been pitched as the idea of what if Superman had a son, or what if Superman had a kid? I know Comic Drake has a really good video from 2014, I believe, that actually summarizes who this character is a little bit better than I can. But essentially, Invincible is the son of Omni-Man. Omni-Man is this Viltrumite who is from obviously a far off planet who comes to Earth. He's basically the Superman of Earth who's helping establish a peaceful world. Chaos ensues. I don't want to spoil anything for you. I would definitely say check out the Comic Drake video, but this is a very interesting character. He's extremely powerful. He has a lot of durability, super strength. He can fly. He's got a very stylish outfit. His name is Mark Grayson. I don't know, there's not a lot that I can go into detail about with Invincible without spoiling things from the series, which I'm trying not to do very much of, because that series is definitely powered by a lot of its storytelling elements, even more than a lot of comics are today. So I would say definitely check out Invincible if you want to know more about this character, but essentially he's very much like mixing the best, most relatable parts of Spider-Man, the human being, in with the unrelatable and relatable parts of Superman. Very powerful character, could definitely give some characters in Injustice a run for their money, and he could certainly stand toe-to-toe with someone like the Injustice Superman in a fight. Invincible is also owned by Image Comics. I think that's worth mentioning. Image Comics publishes his comic books, like I said. So I do think that this is a company that, even though they are successful, they are a smaller company than the main two comic book publishers. So it wouldn't really be impossible to work out a deal with them in order to use this character. I mean, hell, we already saw a character like Spawn show up in Injustice. Same with Hellboy. I think this is a no-brainer. The second one I wanted to take a look at is Jenica. A lot of people aren't going to know who Jenica is. This is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles character, TMNT. Technically the 5th turtle. No, not that weird one from the 90s, not that one, we're ignoring that. But this is the 5th turtle, who is a girl. This is owned by Nickelodeon and IDW Publishing. She was obviously created in IDW's TMNT comic, but Nickelodeon owns the distribution rights to the Ninja Turtles. So why does this matter? Why does the Nickelodeon and IDW publishing part matter? First off, I want to say there is a precedent with Jenica or with the TMNT. The fact that the TMNT did show up in Injustice 2, we've already got a working relationship between these two companies that could see this come into play. I don't think it would be that hard for them to reopen speaking to them when they already got all 4 of the main Ninja Turtles to get the 5th lesser known turtle, who's actually a fairly new character, in the game. I think that's definitely doable. There's also a precedent of IDW publishing working with DC Comics already. They've done, I believe, 3 different Batman/Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover comic book series that are like shorts. They're self-contained series. So there's definitely a precedent here that this could happen, and I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. Plus, Jenica does have a lot of interesting features to her. She was obviously originally a human. She's now the 5th turtle due to little tiny minor spoiler warning if you haven't been paying attention to any entertainment news about the Turtles. She received an emergency blood transfusion from Leonardo and became a turtle. I mean, she mutated over time to sort of be this blend. She uses claws, which are obviously like metal blades, and a katana for weaponry, has very intense fighting style, and really cool customization options because Jenica does go through a few different outfits and wears more clothes than some of the Ninja Turtles are typically used to. I think that would definitely tie into the Injustice progression system and customization system of the clothing and would work well in terms of the scope of the world. Plus, there's that precedent of the Turtles already being included in the previous one. Why not see the 5th Turtle here? The third character that I think would be an awesome fit in Injustice 3 is Korra, the Avatar. Now, look, I know that Aang is pretty much I would say probably the more iconic character to a lot of people, but I do think that Korra fits into this world better because she is older, she's more seasoned, and she really has more abilities. I know that is a little bit arguable, but because of her connections to the spirit worlds, she does have a little bit more going on in terms of interesting abilities, I think, than Aang in The Last Airbender. Again, I'm not here to start a debate between what show is better, but I definitely think Korra fits into this world better. And in terms of customization, Korra is really sort of a mishmash. She goes through all these different clothing styles and looks, but she still has her iconic looks as well. She's owned by Nickelodeon, and again, there are precedents here with Nickelodeon working together with these companies, like with DC Comics, obviously with things like the TMNT with IDW, and there is a connection there. There's already the connection with the TMNT, so I don't see why this couldn't happen. Plus, Korra's got all these abilities going on, like being able to bend any element along with spirit bending, spirit modes. This stuff is really, I'm trying to boil it down to its most basic element to get through the video. You can certainly watch a bit of a summary of Korra if you want more of an idea of her abilities, but she definitely would fit in. We are at the self-serving entry in this list because I know that this is one I haven't seen mentioned by anybody. Maybe it has been. But we're going to play a few degrees of separation to get through this. That's Sam and Dean Winchester from Supernatural. Supernatural is definitely, I would say, in my top 3 favorite TV series of all time. I absolutely love it. I'm not going to stand around and say it's perfect and has no writing problems at all, but it's one of the few things from the CW and Warner Bros. Television that I will stand behind fully, saying it has such a heart behind it to the writing and to the character development and the character connections. I absolutely love Sam and Dean Winchester. They're obviously born the sons of Mary and John Winchester, who are hunters. Hunters essentially hunt down demons, vampires, ghouls, ghosts, everything, spirits, demigods. Everything. There's a lot that you could do with these characters that would be fascinating. I don't know why you couldn't essentially have them be a skin of each other. Essentially the same way that you have the TMNT in Injustice 2 function, where it's like, hey, they fight a little differently, but Leo, Donnie, Raph, and Mikey all take up the same character slot, but they have different weapons. You could very easily do this with Sam and Dean. Maybe Sam uses the demon killing knife more and Dean uses the Colt or a sawed-off shotgun. It doesn't really matter, and it doesn't matter that they don't have superpowers, really. I mean, there's plenty of characters already in Injustice, like Batman, who's a core of the series that doesn't have superpowers. So I don't think that that's at all a necessity. There's so many things I can think of in terms of clothing. They go through probably hundreds of outfits over the course of this 15-season show. And why Supernatural? Other than the iconic imagery, other than the fact that it is currently the longest running sci-fi series of all time, at least in America, other than all of this, AT&T owns WB and DC Comics. And where is Supernatural? It's a Warner property. It's on the CW. This is a match made in heaven. These characters are already accessible, and Supernatural has not shied away from crossovers. I mean, we've already seen things like Scooby Natural, a crossover between the WB characters of Scooby-Doo and the Supernatural gang. I mean, this is a match made in heaven. Like I said, it would be stylish, sleek, a lot of fun voice lines. Jensen Ackles has had actual experience working with DC Comics in the past as well. He actually voiced Red Hood in Under the Red Hood. So we know that he's someone who's not against doing voice work, and he's a huge fan of these DC Comics characters. I mean, hell, the dude posted on Instagram a picture of him with the Red Hood helmet on, watching Under the Red Hood, which he's in. I believe it's a picture in a little short video clip. This is a man who is a big fan of these characters. And Jared Padalecki, who plays Sam Winchester, is also not against doing vocal work for WB projects. I mean, he voiced the character of Sam Winchester for the Supernatural anime one season short. It actually got an anime very temporarily. So this would be awesome to see. The voice actors are already probably on board with an idea like this. And oh man, I'm just nerding out thinking about it. So the final one I have, which I would love to come back and do another one of these, but the fifth one is Judge Dredd. This is a character that's currently owned by Rebellion Developments. This is a much smaller company, even though it's been around for over 2 decades. They run the 2000 AD comic books, which is the Judge Dredd series of comics. Judge Dredd is essentially he's a judge. And no, he's not like a Supreme Court judge, and he's not like your local judge where you go and you try to get your parking ticket overturned. No, Judge Dredd is a judge of the future. In Mega City 1, in the 2000 AD comics, Judge Dredd is essentially enforcer, executioner, police officer. He's everything in between. He is able to dispense summary judgment against law offenders. He's able to arrest people, perform lethal force. He's essentially a superhero of the 2000 AD world, but he's a little twisted. I mean, he's a good guy, but he's obviously also very indoctrinated by his belief in the state and in maintaining law and order. I mean, he's pretty much a totalitarian, a fascist, if you will, in a lot of ways. He uses force to get things done, but he's a very iconic comic book character. I mean, this is one of the most iconic comic book characters that is not owned by the main two of DC Comics or Marvel Comics. And because it is under Rebellion Developments, there's a lot you could do here in terms of actually working out a licensing agreement that would be very beneficial to Rebellion. I mean, it's not like saying, I want Spider-Man in Injustice. I mean, what interest does Marvel have to do that, right? Because they own the entire MCU, they're owned by Disney, this is billions and billions and billions of dollars in profits versus the drop in the bucket you could give them to use their character in a potentially harmful way to their brand. They're just gonna say, nah, we're good. But with someone like Rebellion, they have everything to gain from this. It's more exposure for Judge Dredd. It would bring actually new readers probably into the comics, which the comic book industry desperately needs actually, because it's been pretty stagnant for the last decade. And it would also just be a really cool inclusion that people would love to see. I mean, after Spawn, this is one of the most requested characters I've seen for a game like Injustice or Mortal Kombat that's not already owned by this company. So I would definitely love to see Judge Dredd with his his very cool law-abiding judge outfit show up in the game, and he's got a lot of customization options. Again, it's hard to articulate because I'm just nerding out thinking about the possibility of Judge Dredd versus Batman. Unreal. I'd love to see it. So hey, these have been my top 5 guest characters I'd love to see show up in the next Injustice game. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you love any of these? Do you hate any of these? What other characters would you want to see that are not owned by DC Comics? That's what I want to know, because I think anybody can throw out like, what about Static Shock? It's like, yeah, absolutely, definitely owned by DC Comics fully. But what characters would you want to see that they don't own in the game that are realistic? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more content. I'm definitely loving doing these videos. And hey, check out the Instagram, Twitter, Discord. We've got a Patreon now where you can help support content like this from the channel. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day and stay shway.